Hey everyone, Colleen Patrick-Goudreau here, joyful vegan, author of several books on living compassionately and healthfully. You can go to joyfulvegan.com to learn more. I've been answering your questions for years on my podcast, Food for Thought, and here in video form and in other mediums. And I've been getting a lot of questions about Valentine's Day, both from a zero waste perspective and from a vegan perspective, how to have a zero waste vegan Valentine's Day. Now, warning, if you are in any way cynical or grumpy about Valentine's Day and you think it's just a commercial holiday, then you might not want to watch this video because I'm going to be talking all about how we can gift the people we love with just beautiful, meaningful, sustainable gifts. You don't have to do this just for Valentine's Day. Of course, you can do this any time of the year. But what is wrong with celebrating the people we love? And let's use this as an excuse to do so. If you want to pick a different date to do that, or if you want to do it every day, fantastic. The other thing I want to say off the bat is that Valentine's Day or celebrating the people we love does not just have to mean romance. It doesn't have to just mean being in a romantic relationship. You could celebrate friends, you could celebrate family members, you can celebrate neighbors or coworkers. The idea is to take a day, take a moment, take some time to appreciate the people we love. So I'm going to give you 5 ideas for a sustainable, zero waste, vegan Valentine's Day. Number 1, flowers. Obviously not an original idea. We've been giving flowers as tokens of our affection for centuries, but there are considerations when it comes to flowers. Number 1 is it is winter. Valentine's Day takes place in winter. Now, I am here in Northern California, and as you can see, I am outside, and I can get locally grown flowers any day of the week here in Northern California, but I am obviously the exception. I am not the rule. And so if you can't get flowers that are locally grown, then it's just something to consider, because the fact that it's winter, most places around the United States don't grow flowers in the wintertime unless they have hot houses, which some do. And so if you can't find flowers that are locally grown, then just know that when you order flowers, you're getting them from very far away. So there's a carbon footprint to consider. Especially roses come from South America, and there are also considerations in terms of how they grow them. So when it comes to flowers, I do recommend trying to find organic if you can, or at least pesticide-free. But that's something to consider. So number 1 is try to find locally grown flowers. Number 2 is if you can't, then what about a plant? What about a tree? You can buy a house plant that people will be able to enjoy for years to come. You can and give them instructions on how to take care of it. So go to a local nursery and find a house plant, or even a tree or a plant that they can then put in the ground come springtime. So that's something really special. And then the third option, there are online retailers that do focus on sustainable flowers. Now, again, there's going to be the shipping consideration. However, one thing I like about this particular company, I think it's pronounced Bouqs, like bouquet, but I'm actually not sure how it's pronounced. Bouqs, right? They package their flowers in paper and send it in a cardboard box. So obviously you can compost, recycle, what have you. You can properly dispose of and make sure that value is created from the packaging, from the flowers that you have delivered. And they are also very mindful about the growing practices. So on their website, when you go there, you can actually see who the farmers are, and you can pick exactly which farmer and where they are for the flowers that you're ordering. So flowers, plants, house plants, trees, something people can plant or find a sustainable online retailer is number 1. Number 2 is consumable gifts. Gifts that don't leave a trace, meaning that once you have enjoyed them, there's no sign of them anywhere because you've eaten them and hopefully properly took care of the packaging. I have said that my favorite definition of waste is any item which its owner has stopped taking responsibility for. Any item for which its owner has stopped taking responsibility. And I love that because, for instance, I use the example of a banana peel. You eat your banana, you have a banana peel, and you think, oh, well, now this is waste. It's not waste. It's not waste until you stop taking responsibility for it. It's waste if you just throw it in the garbage, which is just going to go to a landfill. It's waste if you just throw it on the side of the street and it's going to go to a landfill. It's not waste if you properly compost it, for instance, and therefore it becomes becomes valuable because it goes back into the soil and creates nutrients for plants, right? So that's an example. So whatever you're purchasing, just be mindful, at least this is what I'm mindful of, and this is what zero waste means to me, is can I take responsibility for this item? So for instance, chocolate would be a wonderful consumable item. And of course, it's very traditional and it's delicious, and I love chocolate. And you can definitely find lots of wonderful chocolates that are animal product free. So there's no animal products, there's no cow's milk, there's no casein, vegan, plant-based, etc. Fair trade. So making sure that there are considerations around human rights issues and environmental issues, because when we're talking about intensive crops and commercially grown crops like chocolate, obviously there are a lot of considerations. So when you buy your favorite chocolate bar, for instance, you can find one that actually is packaged in paper and foil. Now you can recycle the foil and you can compost or recycle the paper. When it's the foil, just FYI, if you just have a little bit of ball of foil, that's not going to get recycled because it's too light to go through a recycling machine. So if you have foil, wait until you have a little bit more and create a bigger ball and then put it in the recycling bin. So that's an example for chocolate. And considering those other issues, environmental, human rights, animal exploitation, there are many brands. My favorites are Endangered Species. I also love Cho, which is a local brand, and there are some others as well I'll put right here that I really like. The other thing about chocolate is you can just go to the local, your grocery store, see if there's a bulk bin section, and just get some chocolate. You can get chocolate chips, you can get, little chocolate candies, and you can put them in a nice little glass jar that you have, find a ribbon lying around the house, and there's a lovely gift. You can also get tins. So hot cocoa, right? A hot cocoa mix, or cocoa powder, or chocolate nibs, or cocoa nibs, cacao nibs. Put them in a little jar, same thing, or a tin. And you can find that. Now, that makes a lovely gift. Make your own hot cocoa mix. It's just cocoa powder, unsweetened cocoa powder, and sugar, and you can put some cinnamon in there as well. And I'll talk about cinnamon in a second. And so there you go. There's another nice gift. The other thing I want to talk about is when it comes to packaging, the two materials that I do still purchase, though in a limited way, are glass and aluminum, because they are properly valued in the marketplace still, and they will get recycled, because then they get purchased and then they get melted down and created again and again and again. They don't really lose their quality, whereas plastic does. That's why plastic is not something we want to buy if we can help it. Obviously, there's some things that I have to get that are in plastic. Mostly they related to medical things, saline solution for my contact lenses, for instance. So chocolate would be one of those consumables that I recommend. But speaking of glass and aluminum, as I said, getting a tin of chocolate or a tin of cocoa powder, but also tea you can find in glass packaging or paper or tins, aluminum. You can buy a bottle of wine, you can buy scotch, you can buy other kinds of alcohol, and frankly, I use my scotch bottles a lot over and over again. I keep them. The bottles are really beautiful, and when I make my soy milk, or you can use them for water, whatever. They're beautiful bottles to reuse. So those are lovely gifts, either in glass or in tins or aluminum. Number 3, this is also related to consumables. When it comes to, I think the most special gift we can give our loved ones is a homemade meal. So you can also just make cookies or make brownies and make it really simple. And of course, I'm going to recommend The Joy of Vegan Baking, because in that book, which is now a classic, it's been around for a long time, and I'm really grateful that so many people love it. There are lots of sweet, yummy, decadent dessert recipes, but also just making a whole meal for someone. I just think it's super special. Obviously, it's more affordable than going out to a restaurant. It's obviously, there's less waste because you're controlling all of it, and we can make it really special. And I do have menu ideas and recipes specific to a romantic meal or just a meal for two, and how to plate it, what the meal would look like, what the other items would look like. in the Vegan Table, another one of my books, and Color Me Vegan is also one of my cookbooks, and it's broken up by color. And one of the things I want to also talk about when it comes to food is the aphrodisiac quality that a lot of people have talked about for centuries, and people talk about this time of year around Valentine's Day. Most of what we hear when we talk about aphrodisiac foods, most of it from a scientific perspective is bunk, but from a sensual perspective, literally engaging your senses, it's actually, there's something to it. So when you think about wanting to feature aphrodisiac foods in your Valentine's Day meal, think about the senses. Think about the olfactory and the visual. So how something smells, how something looks, how something tastes, what the mouthfeel is. So when it comes to visual, for instance, obviously color is a big factor. Red is a color that's often been associated with passion. And so focus on plant foods that are red: cherries, pomegranates, tomatoes, cranberries, so things that are red. Other considerations when it comes to the visual aspect are things like, well, the shape of things. There's a reason asparagus has been an aphrodisiac food for centuries because of its shape. You figure the rest out. So visually is what we want to consider. When it comes to texture, that's another consideration. So how something feels, like how something, what's like so for instance, agave, right? Agave nectar has this wonderful viscosity. So it's thick, it's beautiful. You can drizzle it on something and it has this great viscosity. When you think of the texture of champagne, in fact, when people talk about champagne being an aphrodisiac, that has more to do with the bubbles and the sensation in your mouth than it does like the alcohol. So consider something like that. So consider the mouthfeel, something being creamy, something being luscious, something having a particular mouthfeel. Again, I'll let your imagination take over from there. But those are things to consider. And then obviously things specifically like something spicy, like chili, like peppers, they actually do have an effect on our bodies because they warm up our bodies. And so, making something like my spicy red pepper soup, and I have that in the 30-day vegan challenge, or my Mexican chocolate cake. So adding cinnamon or adding chili pepper to chocolate, so like a Mexican chocolate is a wonderful way to get, again, the richness of chocolate and the deliciousness of chocolate, but also the spiciness from the peppers. And then I do have to say it, because this is what I have to say. The number one thing that makes a body healthy is that blood is flowing to all of the places it's supposed to go. If your blood isn't flowing to your heart, you're at risk for a heart attack. If your blood isn't flowing to your brain easily, you're at risk for a stroke. If your blood isn't flowing to other organs of your body, they're not going to function. So again, I think you know what I'm saying here, but we want our blood to flow to all of the organs it needs to in order to have the healthiest body. And so, look, plant foods, we know, are the foods that actually create blood flow. It enables our blood to flow very easily, and it doesn't clog our arteries, whereas animal products, we know, hinders blood flow and it clogs our arteries, and it makes it very, very difficult for our blood to flow easily to the organs it's supposed to go to. And so when we're talking about aphrodisiac foods, and we're talking about just foods that promote health, we're obviously talking about plant foods. So make sure your aphrodisiac foods are plant foods and not animal products. Number 4 is a handmade card or a note, right? I am not a DIYer. I mean, I want to say I'm not a DIY. I'm really not someone who does DIY. I'm not. And yet, for years, when I was first dating David, I've been with my wonderful husband for 25 years. And when we were first dating, probably for about the first 10 years of our time together, I created a scrapbook for our previous year. I gave it to him every Christmas, and it was really special. And it was mostly ticket stubs and photos and, theater programs and maybe song lyrics of a song that we discovered together. And it was really special. And I need to just pull them out because it would be really fun to look at them. So I think that's lovely, and I just haven't done it because it's also very time consuming. So I had a lot more time when I was 20 than I do now. But doing like something very simple like that. It doesn't have to be a whole scrapbook, but it could be just, writing down some memories of you and the person that you want to celebrate. Could just be a card. So if you're, again, grumpy about the commercial aspect, then don't buy a commercial card. I mean, I don't know what is in a commercial card that you couldn't say yourself. And so you probably have some generic cards lying around. You probably have some paper lying around. You might have some construction paper lying around. Probably have a marker lying around. You might even have some stickers. I mean, that's one of the things that's been really fun about zero waste, is discovering all of the things that I have lying around the house that I haven't been using. Because for me, again, the definition of zero waste that I love is valuing what we have in our lives, is only bringing into our lives those things that we can value, and then by extension, those things that we have in our house currently, how we can value them more. So find some stickers, find some construction paper. You might have some fun scissors. Again, I'm not a DIY, but I do have those little fun scissors that cut in like a ridge, because I guess I did used to do more DIY things. anyway, so just make a card for someone. Just make a card or send a note. And then finally, number 5, give experiences, not things. Spend time with your loved one. This is so obvious. You already do this. You already know this. Go to the theater, go to a sports game, go to the park, go on a hike, go on a picnic. Okay, again, I realize that it's February and I'm in California and I can do those things. Play a game. You can still go to an indoor event. Go to the theater, go to the movies. When's the last time you went to the movie theater? Go to the movies, get some popcorn. Just create something mindful. Be present, be thoughtful, be loving, be compassionate, be yourself, and celebrate the people in your life. So I hope that helps. If you like these ideas, let me know. Give me a thumbs up. Leave your comment below. Obviously, subscribe to my channels and to my work. And go to joyfulvegan.com, especially if you want to know more about my new book, The Joyful Vegan. But you can go to my main website as well, Patrick-Goudreau.com. And that's where I have all of the work that I've been doing for these many years. Happy Valentine's Day, everyone. For the animals, this is Colleen Patrick-Goudreau. Thank you for watching.